Let's do a little practice now with questions and traces. So first, what place in the sentence is expressed by the question word? For example, who wants to eat pizza for lunch? Before we really answer what place is expressed or where the trace lies, why don't we first analyze the question? And we can do it the same way that we analyze sentences because they're basically put together the same way. So the question word is who. Now for lunch can be a shifter. For lunch, who wants to eat pizza? And I don't see any X words, but I know who doesn't want to eat pizza. And we could ask something like, does who want to eat pizza for lunch? So I see that the question word who, is sitting in the subject place. Now everything left is the predicate. The M place is empty. Wants ties with the subject, and wants ties with the present. The Y is a verb, is the S form. And so Y is a verb phrase with time. Now, as always, we can rewrite the Y. I'll write it over here. Wants to eat lunch. And the verb is wants. To is the particle. And eat lunch is the object. It's a verb phrase. No time. Now, what place is expressed by who? Well, it looks like the verb wants is here, the particle's here, the object's here. The complement place is empty. It's really not really necessary. Actually, if we wanted to, we could put for lunch in the complement place too. That would be possible. So I wonder, what's the answer to this question? Do I want? I don't want. I is the subject, predicate, M place, Y. Want ties with I. Want ties with the present. It's the no S form. Verb phrase with time. And maybe we don't need to really go any further, but I can see that the answer to who wants to eat pizza is here, I, in the subject place. So we can say that who expresses the subject in this question, in this sentence, and the trace lies here in the subject place. Let's take a look at another one. What did Jack watch on TV last night? Last night is the shifter. The question word is did. The X word is, the question word is what, and the X word is did. Jack did not watch. Jack is the subject. Predicate. M place. The Y. Did ties with the past, last night. Did ties with watch. That's the base form. And Y is a verb phrase, no time. Let's rewrite the Y. Watch on TV. Watch is the verb. The particle place is empty. The object place is empty. On TV is the complement. Now, before we answer our two questions, let's just do the answer. He did not watch. Did he watch? He did not watch. He is the subject. predicate, am, watch ties with the past, past form. The Y is a verb phrase with time. And last, let's rewrite the Y. Watched a movie. Watched is the verb, the particle place is empty, and now the object place has a movie. So what did Jack watch? The answer is a movie. So what expresses, I'll write that over here, what expresses the object? And so in our analysis of the question, the trace lies here in the object place. We recognize that there's something missing here, and that's why we know how to answer this question. Okay, let's take a look. I think we got some sentences we can practice on the next page, some questions. Now, when did Jose Freeman hear his tribe's lost language for the first time? Analyze this question. Answer what place does the question word when express, and where is the trace? When is the question word, okay, and did is the X word. Jose Freeman did hear. Jose Freeman is the subject. Oh, I forgot the shifter for the first time. Predicate. And did ties with the past. Did ties with here. That's the base form. The M place is empty. Y. Y is a verb phrase, no time. Let me rewrite the Y. Here his tribe's lost language. Here is the verb. The particle place is empty. His tribe's lost language is the object. It's a noun phrase. For the first time, and the complement place is empty. So, when did Jose Freeman hear his tribe's lost language for the first time? Where would we find the answer to that question? Jose Freeman heard his tribe's lost language for the first time last week. It looks like it would go here in the shifter place. So we can say the trace lies here as a shifter, and when expresses this shifter place. Ready for another one? Whose ancestors were speaking to Freeman? Please analyze this sentence and come back when you're done. Question word is whose. I don't see any shifters. Now, were is the X word. And if I wanted to make a question, I'd probably have to move it over here. Were whose ancestors speaking to Freeman? So the X word place, the second X word place is over here. So let's do this. Put a box around the subject, the predicate, the M place, and Y. And let's find our ties. Word ties with the subject, word ties with the past, and word ties with speaking. It's the ing form. Y is a verb phrase, no time. Let's rewrite. We need to see all the different places. Speaking to Freeman. Verb, particle, object, complement, prepositional phrase. Now, whose ancestors were speaking to Freeman? Let's say his ancestors were speaking to Freeman, and we can see were his ancestors, the subject, the predicate. It looks like whose expresses part of the subject. It expresses this part here, which we'll talk about later, but whose expresses this part of the subject, and that means that the trace is there. That's the part that's missing, although we feel it. Now, where did Freeman's ancestors live? Stop the video, analyze the sentence, and come back. Question word, X word. Freeman's ancestors did not live. Now here is the subject, predicate, M place, and Y. Did ties with the past. Did ties with live. It's the base form. Y is a verb phrase, no time. Let's rewrite the Y. Live. And we see that the verb is here. Particle place is empty. Object place is empty. And the complement place is empty. So, where did Freeman's ancestors live? Freeman's ancestors lived in Texas. The trace is here in the complement place. That's where I'd put the answer, like in Texas or in California or in Canada. So where expresses the complement. Now, what are more and more indigenous people finding? Please analyze the sentence and come back. Question word is what? X word. More and more indigenous people are finding. So more and more indigenous people is the subject, and finding is the predicate. The M place is empty, and finding is Y. Now R ties with the present. R ties with the subject, and R ties with finding. That's the ing form. This is a verb phrase, no time. finding is the why. And we have a verb, empty complement, empty object place, and empty complement. Empty particle, object, and complement places. So, what are more and more people finding? More and more people are finding interest in lost languages. The answer goes in the object place. That's where the trace lies. So what expresses the object? And that's why we can understand questions, information questions, is because the trace completes the sentence for us. If we didn't have a sense of a trace, then we would feel that the sentence is just not a good sentence. But because we feel the trace, we can fill in all the missing parts and feel that we're dealing with a complete sentence. I think we have a few more on the next page. Please take a look. Who gathered more than 1 million pages of notes on native languages? Question word. Who? I don't see the X word, so we could say who did not gather, and then did who gather? So who is sitting in the subject place. There's no shifters. The M place is empty, and gathered more than 1 million pages of notes on native languages is the Y. Gathered ties with the past, and it's the past form. Y is a verb phrase with time. Let's rewrite the Y. Gathered more than 1 million pages of notes on native languages. That's all one phrase. Gathered is the verb. There is no particle. More than 1 million pages of notes on native languages is the object. It's a noun phrase. And and then the complement. Okay, so who gathered more than 1 million pages? Freeman gathered more. So the answer is actually in the subject place. That's where the trace is. Who expresses the subject? Why is Harrington's work important? Why is the question word. Is the X word. Harrington's work is important. Harrington's work is the subject, predicate, and place, and why. Is ties with the present. Is ties with Harrington's, the subject, Harrington's work. There is no verb. Important is an adjective, so why is an adjective phrase. Let's rewrite. Important. And the verb, particle, object are all empty, and the complement is important. It's an adjective phrase. Now, where is the answer to this question? Why is Harrington's work important? Harrington's work is important because it tells us about his culture. So I see the answer lies here in the shifter place. This is where the trace is. And we can say that Y expresses the shifter place. How was his research? How is the question word, X word. His research was. His research is the subject. Now this looks really interesting, doesn't it? Here's the predicate. There isn't anything even in there. Okay, was ties with the past. Was ties with the subject. I could say the M is here, the Y is here, but I can't answer the Y, what kind of Y we have. So let's rewrite the Y. The Y has places for a verb, a particle, an object, and a complement. Now let's make an answer to this question. How was his research? His research was fantastic. The trace is in the complement place. So how expresses the complement in this sentence? And I think we're on our last one. Which languages did he focus on? So please, analyze this sentence, come back, and then we'll look at it together. Question word is which. X word. He did not focus. He is the subject. Predicate. And okay, let's do the ties. Did ties with the past. Did ties with focus. That's the base form. Y, here's our M place. Y is a verb phrase, no time. Y, focus on. The verb, particle. Focus on really means paid most attention to. Focused on, and then it looks like the object and the complement are empty. But I need to answer this question. Which languages did he focus on? He focused on Indian languages. It looks like the trace is here in the object place. So which expresses part of this object, because which only expresses the answer to, let's say, Texan languages or Indian languages or Romance languages. But the important thing is that which is part of this object. That's what it expresses. And that's why we feel, even though we don't have all the information for this sentence, we feel that it's complete. We understand it because the trace is expressed. And that means that we're dealing with a complete sentence where the verb or the sentence has everything it needs to make sense to us. I hope you feel comfortable with traces and WH questions, and we'll be ready to continue on with Lesson 9.